Hi there. You're listening to the Shift to Strong podcast today. Thank you so much for coming to listen. Today we're talking about metabolism, and I'm going to answer the question: does your metabolism really slow down in your 40s? So you've probably heard this when you get to 40, it's all downhill, and there's nothing you can do. However, we're going to look into it really just looking into the science. So I'll talk about what metabolism is, make that clear. Then we will talk about what the science says. There's lots of studies that have actually been done on this, large studies that have come out now, and we'll talk about what really does slow down metabolism and hopefully give you some tips to take away from today's podcast. Okay, so what is metabolism? Metabolism is all the chemical reactions in your body that are required for your body processes. So that doesn't make much sense to us. So if you've got to think of it as what the stuff you put in, your body uses that for energy. Okay, put simply. And the most important thing to remember in terms of metabolism is it's not just about moving, it's really all of your bodily processes. So there's a lot happening with your metabolism. And we can think of it in three key components. So I'm going to go through those three key components with you just now. So firstly, we can start off with your base metabolism. So the base metabolism would be the amount of energy required just to keep you alive. So you can calculate a base metabolism over a 24-hour period. And that will be dependent on different factors. So your body composition will come into that, but also your age, gender, height, and weight. So I use the black and owl method just to do a basic calculation to give me an idea when I'm working with people and I want to work out what their base metabolism is. So to give you an example, for me, I calculated my base metabolism as 1,400 calories. That's based on my age, gender, height, and current weight. And that is really, so that means I need 1,400 calories just to survive lying down for 24 hours. Okay, so that is so all of my organs can function, my brain, everything, all the body processes that need to happen to keep me alive. Okay, so the base metabolism can be slightly modified, but it's relatively stable. There are ways we can have an impact on the base metabolism, but it's going to be a slow change. So base metabolism, that's the first part to understand. Then you have the second component, which is going to be your active metabolism. So this will be much more variable because this depends on the movement that you're doing. So for example, if I were a sedentary person, so working in an office, perhaps working out a couple of times a week, but nothing more than that, spending a lot of time sitting in the car, in the office, at home, so relatively inactive, which is quite a large percentage of the population. They would be put into the sedentary category. So that's about, so if you're based on my profile, I would need 1,700 calories per day for my base metabolism plus my active metabolism. However, if you have someone who's very active, so the other end of the spectrum, which someone like me, being a personal trainer, I'm very active. I don't spend a lot of time sitting. I do lots of steps. I train 6 days a week and sometimes twice a day. So to calculate my metabolism, including the activity that I do, it's more around 2,400 calories intake per day. So that's the energy I need to be able to survive plus do all the activity that I do. If I were to have a phase where I was less active, I would then need to reduce that amount because I would not be burning up all of that energy. So base metabolism and active metabolism we've covered. And then we will have the thermic effect of food, which is basically the energy expenditure for digesting what you put into your body. So that's relatively stable. It can change a little bit. It's about 10% of your metabolism. So those three key components will make up your whole metabolism, which is the amount of energy, how I explain it is the amount of energy that you need day to day. So we'll see that this is very based on calories in, calories out. It's not all about calories in, calories out. That is important, and that gives us just a global idea of our metabolic rate, what we need in terms of calories. But it will be a bit more complex than that, as you will see. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about the science. Does the science agree that your metabolism slows down when you reach 40? So as we have seen, metabolism is not that simple. Lots of things can impact your metabolism, so it's not easy to study. However, there have been lots of large studies on this topic and measuring calorie expenditure over the course of the lifetime and how that varies and how the needs vary and how the metabolism varies. So all in all, science says no. At 40, there isn't a big change in your metabolism and your needs. From ages 20 to 60, it's relatively stable. And we're losing about 4 calories in terms of energy requirements. Hi, you're listening to the Shift is Strong podcast by FEB Coaching. My aim is to give women the truth about health and fitness. So in the podcast, I will be using science-backed information and also mixing that with my philosophy and values about training, which I've developed through my personal experience as a personal trainer and training myself. So please bear in mind that science does evolve and opinions do evolve over time. So I'm trying to give you the most up-to-date information and my view at the current time. If you find this content useful, please help spread the word by sharing it with a friend, liking and following the podcast. That would be really, really great. And if you want more information about how to train, please go and look on my website. It's www.feb.com. You also have my Instagram, so it's at feb_coaching. So for more tips and advice, you can find details about the website and Instagram in the podcast description. Thank you, and back to the podcast. So about 4 calories requirements per day, and that's each year. So it's not a huge difference if you think about it. Each year, okay, I need 4 calories less. It's not something that's going to have a huge impact and make us gain weight suddenly. So the science sort of rules that out. It says that once you get to age 60, that's where we see a real change in the metabolism and its efficiency, and perhaps it might slow down. But through from the 20s to age 60, you should be relatively stable. Interesting. So with this information, I'm going to talk about what actually does slow down metabolism and why, when we reach age 40, we might think that it's something biological that's happening in the body that we don't have control over. So some things that can slow down the metabolism, for example, you will have high levels of stress. So many people, in your 20s, you're a bit less stressed. You've got an easier life. And when you reach age 40, by that point, you might have more of a high energy requirements job, higher stress, kids, household, everything that can stress you out. This will throw your cortisol levels up and will create some hormonal imbalance, and which will favor you gaining weight, basically. With high cortisol levels, you also get a lot of sugary cravings. So that can be one reason you might think your metabolism is slowing. It could be linked to stress. There can be genetic reasons as well. Then you can also have, if you've been on lots of yo-yo diets, that actually has an impact on your metabolism. Unfortunately, it will slow it down because you've put your body into starvation mode several times. So your body's going to respond to that and realize that it doesn't need to burn as much energy. So it's going to slow that metabolism right down. So those are some of the things that can slow it down. The big one, this is the one I really want to talk to you about today, is, of course, I'm a personal trainer, I'm going to tell you, it's your lack of muscle mass. Okay. So I'm not saying you have to be really like Hulk level muscular. I'm just talking a baseline level of muscle mass, which enables you to move around, do your daily tasks and keep your metabolism nice and efficient. So we often see muscle as something which is purely visual. We're like, great, we look awesome, we're toned, but it's so much more complex than that. It actually has a really important role in the body and in our metabolism, which is why it's really, really important for me to talk about this today. Okay, so why is muscle so important for metabolism? I'm going to go into two elements to show you why it's so important. So number one, it's going to have an impact on your insulin sensitivity. So for those of you who don't know about insulin sensitivity, we're just going to talk about it briefly. So insulin is going to be secreted to help the sugar be taken up from your bloodstream. So it helps the cells to react to say, right, we need to take that sugar out of the bloodstream. Okay. So why is insulin sensitivity important? Insulin will help your cells open up so that the sugar can be taken out of your bloodstream. Okay. So if those cells aren't reacting to the insulin, that sugar is going to stay in your bloodstream and will eventually be stored as fatty tissues. The insulin will carry on being released and you'll be less and less responsive to that. So you're going to end up actually storing more around the belly, okay, because it's a fat storage hormone, okay. So where does muscle come into that? So the skeletal muscle mass is responsible for taking up 80% of that sugar from your diet post meals. So really, really important in taking up all that sugar and using it for your energy. And so it can actually improve your insulin sensitivity. Okay. So this is where I'm saying calories in, calories out isn't the only thing to think about. It's also thinking about, okay, how can my body composition, as in my muscle mass, have an impact on whether my body decides to store fat or not. Okay. So that can be something that makes you have a less efficient metabolism because you're actually more prone to fat storage. In that case, if you're not working on maintaining your muscle mass, which is something that you will slowly lose throughout the years, probably from age 25 onwards, just a small percentage. So if there's nothing you're doing to maintain that, then it can be decreasing. So you can think your metabolism's slowing down, but it's actually your muscle mass that's slowly decreasing and then having this impact on your metabolism. But the key thing is, it's something you can do something about. So as we have seen, muscle needs energy. It's going to really guzzle up that energy, that sugar from the bloodstream to use it. So it's going to be very high in terms of fuel consumption as opposed to fatty tissues. So there is a slight difference, as I was saying, to the base metabolism if you have a high level of muscle mass, because 1 kilo of muscle mass burns more calories by doing nothing than 1 kilo of fatty tissue. It's minimal. So it's about 10 to 15 calories for 1 kilo of muscle mass as opposed to 4 to 5 calories for 1 kilo of fatty tissue. Over the years, however, that could make a difference to your base metabolism. But the really important thing is that your muscle mass, to move, it needs a lot of energy. So if you have a higher composition of muscle mass in your body, then you require more energy just to simply move, to do your daily tasks. Also in terms of recovery, so recovering from exercise, your muscle mass needs a lot of energy to recover. So you will be burning a lot more if you are making sure that you have maintained your muscle mass. It's that simple. So you've just got to consider it as something which needs a lot of fuel. So the energy you're putting in, it's going to be using it. And the more you do that, the more it will become efficient. So that's why it's really, really important to think about maintaining your muscle mass. And if it's slowly decreasing, then your fatty tissues aren't needing as much energy. So actually, if your calorie intake is the same, then it's going to be storing that, of course, as fatty tissues rather than using it to help you move around. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about something that's really important in muscle mass and why when women come to me, so mostly women over 35 come to me specifically for weight loss, they often are a bit confused. They don't understand why they're suddenly gaining weight. And this is often around age 40. So if you think about the hormonal changes that occur in women around that age, so we're talking perimenopause through to menopause, then you can make a direct link to the what we will see as metabolism slowing down. So perimenopause can be really varied. It can start before 40 or it can start after. It depends on each woman. But it will be bringing in an estrogen deficiency. Okay, so estrogen has been proved scientifically to be highly linked to maintaining muscle mass. So now we know that there is this link with estrogen and maintaining your muscle mass. We know it's even more important for women reaching the perimenopause, and if not possible, if possible before, getting into the gym and doing some resistance training to maintain that muscle mass. Because as we'll see, if we're losing it and then you hit perimenopause and you're lacking estrogen that you had before, you've got more work to do to maintain that muscle mass. So we do see a lot of what we call sarcopenia in women, in older women, because they're more quickly affected by the muscle atrophy, and this occurs more quickly because of the perimenopause. So we do see more women struggling with maintaining their muscle mass due to the effects of hormonal changes. If you want to make a change and you realize that you're gaining weight around age 40, it's not the end of the world. You can do something about it. And even better than just having muscle mass, it's going to be really important for you later on in life, keeping you independent, keeping you moving. You need that muscle mass to help you get up, to move around, to stay independent for as long as possible. So it's really an investment in yourself. It's not just about losing weight and slowing down, having that slow metabolism issue. It's about, okay, me, what do I expect to be able to do when I'm 80? If I start working on it when I'm 40, there's a lot of time for me to be building up and then maintaining that muscle mass that I really need in my old age. Okay. So that's really important. And I wanted to underline that for women, it's even more important to have muscle mass than it is for men. Often we as women will struggle to get in the gym more than men will for several reasons. However, it's really important to learn how to lift. So if you're in the situation, okay, for example, I'm about 40, I've noticed that I'm putting on weight and nothing I am doing, which I would normally have done before, is working to lose weight. What can I do with the information you've had today? I would advise you to go and see a dietitian to give you a body composition check and see where you are at. Okay, what is your percentage of fat tissue? What is your percentage of muscle mass? What can you do about it? Okay, probably work on your protein intake. They'll be able to advise you on that. Then you want to couple that with learning to lift. So I'm not talking about 2 kilo dumbbells. I'm talking about heavy stuff. Okay. Obviously, you'll have to start with lighter weight, but then you can build that up slowly, learn how to move, learn how to lift, and build that muscle mass that you need. Again, I'm not saying you have to be a bodybuilder. I'm talking about a baseline amount of muscle mass that's going to keep you fit and healthy, keep your metabolism nice and efficient. You can also work on things like reducing your stress. If you realize that perhaps that's something that is affecting you, if you've got these sugary cravings that could be coming from high cortisol levels. So that's something you can work on. And also focusing on your sleep, 7 to 9 hours. That's really important. Your body needs it, especially as women. We actually need a little bit more sleep to make sure we can function well and keep a balance. Our body just needs a balance to function efficiently. So you've got to focus on those things, which can be hard to do. Of course, you're juggling a lot. That's understandable, but it doesn't mean it's impossible, and you're not doomed to put on weight just because you turn 40. You can still feel incredible in the body you're in, and so yeah, please take that away from today. If you have any questions, then please just drop them in the comments. Thank you for listening. If you think it was useful, please share to a friend who needs to hear this. And hopefully you'll be listening to me again soon. So thank you. Have a great day and see you soon.